There's always a loophole. Always a loophole. Keep from getting what you want.
The first come, first served.
Phyllis, are you all ready for Christmas? All gifts purchased?
We don't see our friends. We should be okay.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning.
Too late.
We're here.
What-
Unless you'd like to be in the end.
What's it?
Unless you'd like to be in the end.
Just want to make sure I found a place.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Deb Shore, and this is the Monday, September 15th meeting of the Railroad Transportation Safety District. I am serving as chair this year. To my left from the County Board, Brent Smoyer, and from the City Council, Roy Christensen. And to my right from the City Council, Doug Emery, Larry and Gaylord Baird, and on the far end from the County Board is Roma Amundsen. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes that were distributed from our previous meeting. Are there any comments or corrections? Oh, the Open Meetings Act is posted at the rear of the hearing room. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping us out of trouble.
Now, moving on to
I'll
the
move
minutes.
approval.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any comments or corrections? If not, Tina, if you'd call the roll?
Shore,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Emery,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Gaylord Baird,
Yes.
Moyer.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Item 2, statement of receipts and disbursements. Liz?
Good morning, Liz Dannell, County Budget and Fiscal Office. You have your statement of receipts and disbursements that got distributed with your agenda. These figures are through November 30th of 2014. You have collected 39.2% of your tax revenues for the year, which is right in line of where you should be to this year. You have $1.81 million in tax revenues. Your disbursements for operating costs are right in line to where you should be, as well as your commissions. You have only spent $179,000 in your construction project costs to date, so you've got plenty of funds there. Your ending cash balance is $1.575 million, with investments of $11.6 million to date, with a total fund balance of $13.167 million as of November 30th. And the bottom of the report lists the various investments that are on hand as of that date with the Treasurer's Office.
Questions for Liz? I'm sure we'll be discussing the large amount still holding in the construction project line as we move through the agenda. There are no questions. Is there a motion to accept the financial statement?
I so move.
Second.
A motion and second. Call the roll, please.
Shore,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Emery,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Gaylord Baird,
Yes.
Moyer.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 3. Roger. Budget, projects,
Good
and
morning.
committees.
Morning.
It's on the third sheet of your attachment is the budget sheet showing actuals for 13-14, the 14-15 budget, and what we have expended to date. The upper third is the operating expenses. We've spent just a little over, around a third of that. The biggest expense in there has been accounting and auditing and legal services to date. So right in line there. Moving down to the lower portion, the capital parts of the project, we've spent very little on any city or county crossings. I'll just quickly go down through the listing of the projects. The OPPD 91st and Yankee Hill, those are placeholders again as we move ahead with Southeast Lincoln projects and activities that may occur out there. West Pioneers, the work is done and the RTSD has paid the local share There may be some minor adjustments and cleanup, but that'll fall off of the budget next year. There won't be any remaining money in there in the budget will just go back into the account. Southwest 40th, we had paid the large amount a year ago into the city, and they continue to move ahead. The $100,000 is still there for contingencies. Recently, there was some discussion about the fact that perhaps the Southwest 40th Street project had been held up a little bit. There was some redesign required for the piers right at the railroad tracks. A lot of changes in the activity and the growth and the size and the use of the Hobson Yard between the time we started the project, we got out there, and the railroad realized that for them to be able to actually operate, they were going to need to be able to drive back and forth across the railroad tracks with their operational equipment. So we did some redesign to the piers to allow that to occur. And while that was occurring, it didn't look like a lot was going on, but they were working on the Middle Creek Bridge south of the railroad tracks over the creek. So we still believe that they'll be done within the calendar days that they have for next fall, and that work can be completed within the budget that we had for the overall project. Salt Creek Railroad Underpass, still waiting for the NRD and the railroad on an agreement. Some minor expenditures and miscellaneous engineering, safety as well. South Salt Creek is done. The Waverly Quiet Zone, the information that I have from Waverly is, as we have reported before, is complete. Shouldn't be any more invoices, and I think the district has completely paid Waverly off. So if any remaining money in there should go back into the budget the end of the year. 33rd, no, that was the other quiet zone. That is done and will fall off. 33rd and BNSF crossing. At this point in time, again, I would reiterate that the NDOR has accepted and acknowledged the RTSD as a local public agency to let them manage that project and apply for federal aid. We're working on the draft RFP. We are currently coordinating with NDOR, and we're talking about the right way to get that project kicked off and started to make sure that still the NRD, the Corps of Engineers, who are currently working on a plan out there for Dead Man's Run, is coordinated with this project, and in trying to figure out exactly how we engage Federal Highway early on to make sure we don't lose any opportunities for grants down the road or federal money to assist with that project.
Roger, do you have an estimated time that the RFP would be issued?
We had hoped by the end of this year, but it's I think Chris is hoping maybe in January or February we'll get that out. Okay. Hickman Quiet Zone. If I recall, information I have from Silas and Rick Hayden is the railroad should be installing some of their equipment here during December. NDOR is reviewing the paving plans for that part that's still part of the state spur down there. And then the goal still is to bid the paving items for spring construction as soon as they get approval from the state. So we haven't seen much expenditure on that. We'll start some expenditures when and if they get that bid in the spring. Probably a good share of that money will need to be carried over into the next year's budget.
And Mr. Hayden is here if anybody has any questions on that project. Okay.
Next one, OPPD and 84th Street. Again, we have placeholder money for crossings out there. Salt Creek Levee north of A and NRD activity. Working with the railroad, I have not seen anything from them. The Park Boulevard Trail crossing, that work is pretty well done. I'm waiting for an invoice from the City of Lincoln Parks Department for the cost of the actual crossing coming across the railroad tracks, and so sometime this winter or spring we ought to be able to pay that off and then be done with that project. South Beltway, that placeholder money continues to be there for us. And then the last one, the Denton Feasibility Quiet Zone. The on-site diagnostic review team met out on site. That was completed October 21st. We're still waiting for some updated cost estimates, both from the railroad and working with our consultant. We did discuss out there the potential of several different kinds of crossing protection, 4-quadrant gates as well as medians and gates depending on the circumstance out there. Most of those are gravel roads. So we're working on modifying those concepts. We'll get the cost estimates together, and then we'll be ready to start moving ahead. And I thought I might ask a question, or I might make a recommendation. When that information comes together, certainly we could share that with the board, but then I was going to suggest that we probably should have a public meeting out in that area and invite everybody affected, all the stakeholders, to come in, look at the concepts, talk to us, give us some input, and then after that we gather that information together and be in a position to come back to the board for further discussion and where this project might go, moving ahead or not. So, does that sound all right to everybody? We can go get the input up front. Okay. That's kind of it on the budgets and the project updates. The winter meeting of the National Committee on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, that meeting is January 6th through 10th. And just we'll be going there and continuing to work on the next update of the MUTCD manual. I'd answer any questions you might have.
Quiet group this morning.
Mm-hmm.
No questions? Okay.
Nothing else. There are no petitions and
Okay.
letters that I'm aware of.
And I will share, the City Council and County Board, along with the Lincoln Public School District, had a meeting last week regarding the numerous projects that will be occurring in the southeastern quadrant of Lincoln and Lancaster County, specifically with 2 new schools that are planned for construction. There's an excellent portion of the City of Lincoln website that's dedicated to that project, and I think it's a great resource for our constituents. And keyword is Southeast Project, I believe, and there are specific places where you can click to give you additional information about the railroad crossings and how they'll be impacted with regards to road construction and the new schools. So people might find that of interest. Is there anyone wishing to make public comment here this morning? Okay. Seeing none, we will note that our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, March 3rd at 8:30 a.m. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn with the quickest meeting ever.
Before that, I think this is Brent's last meeting, and I wanted to say thanks to Brent for your work on the committee. It's not always fun, and it's not always the most scintillating of information, but I appreciate the fact that you were part of this and did this for your tour of as the county commissioner. So thank you very much, Brent.
Thank you very much, Doug.
Thank you, Doug, for that reminder. And I know that the citizens of Waverly will always be grateful to you due to your work on the Waverly Quiet Zone. It's certainly made an impact on the quality of life out there. So, all right.
I move adjournment?
Second.
Call the roll, please. Yes.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you.